If ever there's been a time that a detailed list makes sense, it's with MI Homes. Many builders will have dual companies where one builds their affordable product and the other is their higher end line. Well, MI Homes isn't like that. They build super low dollar, affordable base level homes, and then they also build higher end homes. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to call them luxury homes, but we still are talking like $800,000 and $900,000 homes. And here's where your problem comes into play. Like, you never know what's standard and what's not. And do you really trust yourself to check every shower surround, every bath mirror, every light fixture? Because the next thing you know, you've bought an $800,000 home that doesn't even have beveled mirrors. Yeah, that happens with MI because they sell both products within one company. So this is not like Grand Homes, for example, where everything they use is a higher end product, or DR Horton, where you can expect base level everything. This is an unpredictable mix, and you have to be super observant when you're viewing their homes. Like, for example, when you're walking in MI home, tap on the tub surround. It might be a cheap plastic one piece or might be a good quality tile. Same is true with the kitchen backsplash or the mirrors in the bathrooms. I mean, it's unusual for there to be that much of a wild card. I mean, usually a builder is known for being one or the other, but you don't get that consistency with MI Homes. So if you don't get that consistency with MI, then what do you get? Well, they do have a strong history. According to their website, MI Homes Incorporated is one of the nation's leading home builders of single-family homes, building new homes of outstanding quality and superior design for more than 40 years. Founded in 1976 by Melvin and Irving Schottenstein, the company has fulfilled the dreams of over 150,000 homeowners. So you do have a history. And it's also a pretty big company. I mean, recently we did a video on Tradition Homes where they literally build in only 2 Dallas suburbs. Well, that's not what we have with MI. According to their website, MI Homes started as a family business and grew into a national leader in a single generation with divisions in 17 markets. Okay, so we know it's a pretty large company that's been around for a while. How about awards? Well, let's talk about the Dallas Builders Association. According to their website, each year, the Dallas Builders Association recognizes an outstanding organization with the Builder of the Year award. They say that this title is granted to the builder who exhibits exceptional market performance, maintains strong relationships with trade partners, and actively engages with their communities. So sounds pretty good, right? Well, it turns out that this year, MI Homes was crowned the Builder of the Year for the 5th consecutive year. So now you have history, size, and a few awards. So where in DFW can you find them? Well, as of now, they have 26 communities around the Metroplex, all on the outskirts of DFW. Like, you'll find a little more in the north, but there are definitely communities in the east and the west and the southwest as well. So they have several clustered in Salina, but also several scattered across like Denton, Fort Worth, Crowley, Lavon, Royce City, and even Midlothian. Like I mentioned earlier, MI offers anything from low-level to high-level homes, so of course their price range is going to reflect that. You'll generally find homes from the 280s all the way up to the 850s. And you'll see multiple types of communities in those price ranges as well, like both large master plan communities as well as relatively basic, like boutique communities. If you're hoping for new construction in that lower price range, you'll find one of their least expensive communities in Royce City. Now, Royce City is located about 45 minutes east of downtown Dallas. The community is called Veranda, and most of their homes are about like $303,000 to $355,000. When it comes to amenities, the community doesn't seem very much like a low-end place. Veranda offers a nice-sized pool with splash pad, amenity center, playground, fountain, and a nice pavilion with picnic tables next to the pond. Now, another benefit to Veranda is it's zoned to Royce City ISD, which is A-rated by the TEA. Now, here's what MI has to say about it. From Ruth Cherry Elementary School, located on site within the community, to Royce City High School, nestled just on the other side of I-67, all students living in Veranda will be close to school campuses. Now, they do have that A rating by the TEA, but I gotta tell you, greatschools.org doesn't give quite as glowing a review. They report that 17% of students score above average. Veranda's current inventory homes are all 1-story, 322s, looking very similar to what you would find with D.R. Horton. You'll find a front entry garage on one side, your front door in the middle, and then a room with a window on the other side. Sometimes you'll see variations to the roof line, and you'll definitely see variations in the brick style, but you won't see much in the way of decorative stone finishes. On the other hand, MI's most expensive community is Liliana in Salina and Prosper. It has a price range from the 500s upwards to like the 820s. It's a really large subdivision, and part of it is in Prosper, part in Salina. You're looking at right around like a 55-minute drive to downtown Dallas from here. Now, the list of amenities at Liliana is pretty long. You have a really nice pool with a splash pad, playground, lots of open green space, multiple parks, pickleball, basketball, bocce ball, walking trails, a dog park, and an on-site elementary school. Speaking of schools, Royce City has fairly decent ratings, but nothing beats Prosper ISD's popularity where students at Liliana attend. It's also A-rated. But greatschools.org shows that 53% of students are scoring above average. The district isn't just one of the best in DFW, it's also ranked among the best school districts in the state of Texas, including the brand new on-site Liliana Elementary School. And if you pop over to niche.com, you see they're the 18th best school district in Texas. When it comes to their inventory homes, they have mostly 1.5 to 2-story options, also in brick, but I will say that the architecture is definitely more diverse than what we saw in Royce City. The roof lines have a higher pitch with more variety. You'll see a more upgraded style to their garage doors. They also have several asymmetrical, like 1.5-story plans, which aren't super common. Plenty of variations in brick style and color, but again, not so much in the way of decorative stone. So their front elevations are somewhat basic. And you might say, well, that's what you don't want that for an upper dollar home. But this is probably your most affordable option to get into Liliana. So even though you could say the homes are somewhat simple, without a whole lot of bells and whistles, it gets you into Prosper and Prosper ISD. And really, when I think about, positioning myself within a community, I mean, this is exactly the best case scenario. You get a somewhat basic home, and then you're surrounded by homes that are like way nicer than yours, and all within like a strong school district. So it really is like an ideal setup. So we've talked about the most expensive and the least expensive communities, but with a price range as big as like 200s to almost 900s, you gotta ask yourself, okay, what is an average MI Homes community, right in the middle? Well, they do have plenty of communities in that like mid 400 to 600 range. So let's take a look at one of them in Garland. Let's take a look at Riverset. It has a starting price of $515,000, climbs up to like right about $600,000. Now, cool thing about Riverset is it's only half an hour from downtown Dallas. So it's totally doable if you're worrying about your commute. Now, when it comes to amenities, you have a nice community pool with an outdoor grill, a really nice amenity center with ping pong and all these cute little hangout areas, playground, really nice park, nice shaded picnic benches, and walking trails. Now, a lot of times the worry when living closer to Dallas is often school districts. And Garland ISD is not one of the best, but it's not necessarily the worst either. The TEA gave it a B rating, and greatschools.org shows 24% of their students score above average and 42% below average. But here's here's a really cool thing that can make Garland ISD a real competitor. Garland ISD is an open school district. All right, here's how they describe it. Our choice of school program allows parents to select the campus they want their children to attend for the next school year. They continue saying, we are a true choice district, which means that during the enrollment process, you will have the opportunity to select several options for which school you would like to attend. So if the school down the street that your new home is zoned to is a 4 out of 10, but there's one 10 minutes away that's an 8 out of 10, you can easily choose the better school. All it takes is a little research on your part. On the Great Schools website, 10 out of 48 of their elementary schools rate an 8 out of 10 or higher. So the whole open school district concept really makes Riverset an option that you might not otherwise consider, if you really wanted high-rated schools. All right, now what kind of homes does a mid-range MI community offer? Well, in Inventory Homes, they have mostly 2-story options, but at Riverset, you actually have some variation than what we saw at Veranda and Liliana. At Riverset, you have rear entry garages, which is a different look, and it's not super common with new construction in Dallas. I mean, it definitely gives the front elevation a whole different vibe. They have 1.5 and 2-story homes, again, with varying styles of brick. Interestingly, at Riverset, they also offer some decorative stone accents. Ultimately, Riverset is an opportunity to get new construction with only a half-hour commute to downtown and decent school options. So for that reason alone, it's worth considering. Okay, so if I have you considering an MI home thus far, hopefully I'm not gonna lose you in this next part because we need to talk about their contracts. I mean, just like any of our builder contracts, we're gonna see there are some predatory clauses you need to be aware of. So let's start off with penalties for late closing, because this is one you really need to be aware of. All right, here's how the contract reads. The closing date may be extended one time for up to 10 calendar days, provided that MI, in its sole and absolute discretion, approves of purchaser's extension request, and purchaser provides MI all of the following at least 3 business days in advance of the originally scheduled closing date. Here comes the list. Written notice of the proposed new closing date and payment to MI of a non-refundable closing extension fee of $150 per day for each day the closing is extended. All right, now here comes the part you really need to pay attention to about the closing extension fee. It is $150 a day unless, due to the extension, the new closing date will occur in the next calendar month following the closing date, in which case the extension fee shall be $2,000 regardless of how many days the closing is extended into the next calendar month. Now, if all of that was a little too much to follow, okay, here's the gist of it. If you're supposed to close on the 31st and you can't close until the 1st, that one day can cost you $2,000 to extend the closing. All right, just one day late and you're out $2,000. All right, here is a common question. Do they include the CC&Rs in the contracts, or do you have to search for them yourself? Now, just a reminder, CC&Rs are the rules set by the HOA, covering things like if you can operate a home-based business or install an above-ground pool. And this is super important because with these new construction contracts, you're agreeing to all these rules whether you've seen them or not. So does MI Homes give them to you, or do you have to find them yourself? Well, it turns out you have to find them yourself, but at least they tell you where to look. Here's what the contract says. A copy of the CC&Rs can be obtained from your new home consultant. Now, don't miss this part. You are signing that you as the purchaser has carefully reviewed the CC&Rs for the purpose of determining purchaser's rights and responsibilities. Purchaser agrees to be bound by the CC&Rs. So that's even if you haven't seen them yet. So make sure you go out there and find them. How about appraisals? Well, if an appraised value is less than the purchase price, the buyer has to make up the difference. So it's as simple as that. Here's how the contract reads. Purchaser acknowledges that purchaser is responsible for paying the balance of the purchase price to MI at closing, notwithstanding any potential appraisal shortfall. Sometimes builder contracts will go into all this detail about why an appraisal might be lower than the purchase price, but MI, they just keep it short and simple. With a conventional loan, you have to pay the purchase price no matter what the house appraises for. Now listen up, because I am about to give you some good news. MI does actually do us a solid on the property taxes. All right, here's what the contract says. Purchaser shall be responsible for purchaser's share of taxes for the property attributable to the number of days during the year that purchaser owns the property. But if the tax bill is not yet available at the time of closing, then the proration shall be based on the prior year's tax bill or MI's estimate of the taxes or assessments. Okay, so we've heard that song and dance before. All right, but you ready? Here's where it gets good. If the taxes or assessments are estimated, either party may request a re-proration based on the actual tax figures before March 31st of the year following closing. So that is a good thing. Now, we've talked about what the homes look like on the outside, but let's talk about the part you're not gonna see. All right, let's talk about sheathing. MI uses something called Tyvek wall sheathing, and it's a non-structural sheathing similar to T-ply. Here's how it is described. Lightweight and easy to handle, cost-effective, fast and easy installation. So not exactly the descriptive words you'd like to hear about something that's part of the structural support of your home. I mean, basically, if you're a fan of structural sheathing, according to the way it's described in the website, you're not gonna get it with MI. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty of what people have to say about their experience with MI. Google Maps reviews. All right, let's talk about it. Liliana in Prosper with 68 ratings. It's rated at a 4.3. Veranda, Royce City with 22 ratings. It is rated at a 4.1. Hunters Ridge in Crowley with 12 ratings is rated at a 4.6. Astor Park in McKinney, 2 ratings, 4.0. Vintage Village in Denton with 1 rating, a 5.0. So these are no atrocious ratings, right? When we reviewed Tradition Homes, we saw they were almost 5.0 across the board, and that was pretty cool. But being in the 4s is decent. All right, but let's talk about Yelp. Yelp had only 13 reviews, and it came in pretty low with only 2 stars. So that's not too uncommon with Yelp. Like, we've seen that with all of our builder reviews, that people tend to only post there when they're unhappy. But it does help to be able to see what it is that they're unhappy about. Okay, now let's talk about the Better Business Bureau. MI is large enough that they're probably going to have a presence here. Well, they are, and they do. MI is graded by the BBB at a scathing D-. It's rated by customers at 1.08 out of 5. Currently, they have 140 complaints closed in the last 3 years and 41 complaints closed in the last 12 months. Now, one thing I always like to see on the BBB is the turnaround time between those initial complaints and them being closed. Well, MI seems to at least be communicative, because many of their responses are actually on the same day of the complaint. And overall, it seems like they never take more than like a week to respond. All that being said though, the numbers don't lie. Obviously, you have some unhappy customers. So to the extent a home inspection is always important, I think that makes it even more important. But unfortunately, MI Homes does not make that easy. They have chosen to have a long list of inspector restrictions. Here's what they have to say about it. Although MI believes that the hiring of a private home inspector is an unnecessary cost to purchaser, MI does permit the use of an outside third-party private inspector, provided that purchaser abides by the following. The private home inspector must be accredited by a nationally recognized home inspector organization. The private home inspector must carry a $1 million general liability insurance policy and abide by all required OSHA safety standards, including but not limited to OSHA confined space regulations and safety standards on the job site. Purchaser must notify the construction manager at least 14 days in advance. Now, I get that right now, this may be really surprising to you. Like, you may be completely scratching your head at the thought of any seller restricting inspections, but it is actually happening a lot with new construction. So much so that I made an entire video about it that you can watch right here. In the meantime, Wendy out.